Did you have trouble hearing that? This is an everyday struggle for people with hearing impairments.
Dear hearing people, we have some things to tell you about us. Sometimes we use a different language to communicate. Sometimes we can speak.
Sometimes we don't. Some of us like to wear hearing aids or cochlear implants to hear. Some of us need interpreters to communicate with others. Please don't force us to wear hearing aids or lip read for your benefit.
That is our personal and private choice.
Don't make decisions for us without our participation or permission. You'd be shocked. We are doctors, lawyers, filmmakers,
race car drivers, teachers,
inventors, CEOs,
chefs, video gamers, musicians, singers,
comedians, writers, and parents.
Need we say more?
Sometimes we're perfectly happy being who we are.
Most of the time, our struggles in society occur when other people make it difficult for us. Sometimes we are too tired to explain ourselves. We suggest
that you simply ask us questions and be open.
Don't be scared. Don't run away. Running away only means that you'll continue to not understand us.
That lack of understanding will only hurt us more.
We're human beings with thoughts and feelings, just like anyone else.
This audiogram of familiar sounds shows the frequency and loudness of various sounds. A bird's chirp is quiet and has a high frequency. And a water drop is quiet but with a low frequency. A piano has a moderate loudness and medium frequency. A lawnmower is loud with a low frequency. And an airplane is very loud and has a high frequency. The highlighted area shows the sounds that are most important for hearing and understanding conversation.
The degrees of hearing loss are mild, moderate, moderate severe, severe, and profound.
Students who are under this category will experience a hearing loss range from 25 to 40 decibels. Typically, most students at this range are often undiagnosed or don't need many accommodations or modifications. Those that they will need will be sitting near a teacher, keeping classroom noise to a minimum, keeping the doors and windows shut in the classroom, and having the child advocate for themselves, so getting the teacher to repeat instructions. Students who fall in this range typically have a hearing loss from 41 to 55 decibels, so these students will obviously require more modifications. Students in this range will also typically have a hearing aid. It is important to remember for students with a hearing aid that there is a 6-meter bubble around them. Students will be able to understand language in this zone. They will hear sounds outside of the 6-meter zone, but they might not necessarily understand it.
Moderately severe hearing loss ranges from 56 to 70 decibels. Subject frequently has difficulty comprehending speech. Voices must be loud or amplified.
This is the loss between ranges 71 decibels and 90 decibels. And this is when the subject will have great difficulty understanding even loud and amplified speech. The latter may seem faint and distorted. This is when the subject will require amplification and intensive speech and language training.
Loss range in profound loss is 91 decibels and above. For individuals with profound hearing loss, they may be aware of loud sounds and vibrations, but may not be able to actually comprehend or even amplified speech without the proper training. As you can see, there are many different degrees of hearing loss, and they all require different forms of accommodations.
Here are some strategies that you can easily implement in your classroom.
It is important to have lots of noise reduction materials in the classroom, so foam, mats, and make sure you have lots of carpet in the room. Speech-to-text materials may also be used for students in this range, as they will typically struggle with instructions if they are not near the teacher. It's important for them to be introduced to a note taker and have a buddy system, so they are partnered up with another student who can relay information to them or repeat instructions that they might not necessarily understand right away. Students will also need downtime and breaks from listening to just relax the mind, as it is quite draining to accommodate a hearing loss.
Many students with hearing loss will need extra time to complete tests. Hearing loss affects students' ability to process information, including written information, at the same speed as the peers without hearing loss. This is unrelated to their cognitive ability. Slower processing of information impacts the effort required as well as the fatigue that often results from test taking. This will occur even if the student is trying their best. It will often take a student with hearing loss longer to read the text and longer for them to pull the information from memory. Extra time typically varies from 25 to 50% more time allowed. Writing tests or exams in a quiet room can also be helpful. While hearing aids are usually the most effective, some students may require a hearing device where a microphone is set up to the teacher so they can hear directly. Videos in the classroom should also be closed captioned. Since hearing aids amplify the sounds, it is important that the classroom sounds be reduced so that the students can hear what the teacher is saying or concentrate on the work. An example of reducing auditory distractions is by putting tennis balls on the bottom of chairs to reduce the sound they make when they're being moved.
Since the use of hearing aids may not be sufficient, additional text modifications must be implemented in the classroom. A note taker or a speech-to-text translation captioning will also prove to be helpful. Moreover, teachers must articulate and speak at a reduced rate, since the individual will rely heavily on lip reading. Finally, visual supplements such as projected material, whiteboard, charts, vocabulary lists, and lecture outlines will help tremendously.
Accommodations that are commonly used are speech reading and American Sign Language. Speech reading is when a person receives a message, generally by observing the speaker's face, paying special attention to the lips, facial expressions, and to the speaker's hand gestures and body language. ASL has its own vocabulary, own grammar, its own word order, and its own history. ASL is founded on combinations of symbolic gestures produced by the shape, location, and the movement of the hands. ASL tends to be learned by children in special settings like schools rather than being passed on by their parents. The benefits of having sign language in the classroom lead to managing student behavior, keeping students actively engaged, assisting students in literacy development of phonics, reading, and their spelling, assisting students in speech and language development, as well as promoting positive peer-to-peer communication and interaction. Children can learn faster when they hear, see, and even actually feel the words that they are learning. Conductive hearing loss exists when there's an abnormality in the middle or outer ear, but the inner ear functions normally. This weakens the sound before it can reach the inner ear. It can often be treated by medication or surgery. The most common cause of conductive hearing loss is from ear infections that cause an accumulation of fluid in the middle ear. Other causes include extreme wax buildup, holes in the eardrum or ruptures, small or absent ear canals, abnormalities of the bones in the middle ear.
Phonological dyslexia is a form of auditory processing difficulty, or APD. Phonological dyslexia is caused by malposition of neurons, or ectopias, that interfere with the size and placement of the planum temporale. The planum temporale is associated with phonological awareness, and it's meant to be asymmetrical. Normally, it's larger in the left side of the brain. However, those with phonological dyslexia show symmetry, so both sides are exactly the same. In some cases, the left side is even smaller than the right. Because this part of the brain is associated with phonological awareness, those without an asymmetry will have difficulties associating phonemes in speech. Because they hear words differently, Getting them to sound out the correct pronunciation of a word can prove to be quite difficult.
Sensory neural loss occurs when the hearing organ and/or the auditory nerve is damaged or malfunctions, so it is unable to accurately send the electrical information to the brain. There are many possible causes for sensory neural hearing loss, and it is almost always permanent. It can be genetic or caused by the natural aging process, diseases, accidents, or even exposure to loud noises and certain kinds of chemicals and medications. Hearing aids, cochlear and hydrocochlear implants are some technologies that can help reduce the effects of having sensory neural hearing loss, and early intervention for hearing loss has been shown to be related to positive school achievement.
Unilateral hearing loss occurs when one person has hearing loss in one ear. One ear will have complete normal functionality, where the other ear will range from mild to profound hearing loss, which is complete deafness. There are a wide variety of causes for unilateral hearing loss. The most common one is genetic defect, which is usually conductive or seniorial hearing loss in one ear. Other causes are viral infection, brain surgery to remove tumors, or blunt force trauma to the head or ear. Children will typically struggle with hearing sounds in noisy places. This will tend to cause irritability, frustration, tiredness, and students may respond incorrectly to questions in class or act out in the classroom due to the above factors. Finally, students will struggle with a loss of locality. This means they'll have trouble deciphering where noises are coming from inside the classroom or around them in general.
The following film is brought to you in part by the Hearing Loss Association of Norway.
Hei.
Hei.
Det er Jan. Han skal ta ut 5000 kroner.
Hva sa du?
Det her er Jan. Han skal ta ut 5000.
Dette er et ran.
Hæ?
Dette er et ran.
Nei.
Ikke få panikk!
Nei, se her.
Han har en dissel! Kaster den ned bak sofaen!
Nei,
hun mistet en plombe! Han har en bombe!
Hæ?
The first sign of hearing loss is that the student will be speaking louder than necessary in conversation.
It takes a second for it to go.
Okay, go.
Okay, go now.
The second sign is that the student will be asking for you, the teacher, to repeat instructions or words a lot. The second sign is that the student will be asking for you, the teacher, to repeat instructions or words. The third sign is that the student will be straining to hear. You will notice this when the student starts to lean forward when you're speaking. The fourth sign is misunderstanding conversations, especially in a noisy environment. Have you ever noticed that someone has the tendency to favor a certain ear? This is the fifth sign of hearing loss.
If someone thinks that you're mumbling and you're not, this could be a sign that they have a hearing problem. Another sign that someone may be suffering from hearing impairment is that they often turn the TV or radio up much louder than it should be. The seventh sign that someone may be suffering from a hearing impairment is that they have the TV or radio much too loud. People who suffer from hearing loss often complain about having buzzing or ringing sounds coming from one or both ears. Finally, they may seem uninterested or withdrawn from a conversation, but in reality, they just can't hear what's going on.
Hearing loss can happen gradually, and because of this, many people are in denial. If you are experiencing any of the following signs, make an appointment with an audiologist today.
So Kyle, what can I expect at a hearing test?
Great question, Francis. Well, first they're going to check your ears for major wax buildup. So I hope you've been cleaning those ears.
I have.
Oh. Secondly, they're going to check your hearing using state-of-the-art equipment. Isn't that exciting?
So exciting. What kind of equipment?
They're going to be tracking your results using an audiogram.
What's an audiogram?
Well, let's find out.
A hearing test consists of listening to different tones, each with a unique frequency and loudness. To start, a given frequency is played at a very low loudness, and this loudness is gradually increased until the sound is audible. Each ear is tested independently, and the results are marked on an audiogram. In an air conduction test, a circle is often used to identify test results for the right ear.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, it's okay. You're going.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
For individual. I'm looking at the paragraph.
Phonological dyslexia is a form of auditory. You guys, just.
Yeah, go.
Okay, well, it's like action. Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Whenever you're ready.
Just. You've already had. Let it go. And placement. That. The inter. Oh.
Get your hearing checked today!
Because you're like severe. Can I read you mine where I'm like, because I didn't actually introduce it, so you're right. I gotta do that.
I told you to do that. You didn't listen to me, did you? I am sick. At the same speed as the speed. Oh my god.
You're almost there,
They're
seriously.
spears.
They're spears.
Keep saying
Decimals. Decimals. Camera. One. Okay.
what? Ready?
Everyone else is mumbling. It's their fault, not yours.
Can't say it's their fault.
Because they do mumble. And you're fine.
It
just the
sounds
way you
like
are.
mumbling.
You're perfect. You were born this
You
way.
should say.
Okay, go. Taking a picture?
No.
Okay. Go. Hearing aids, cochlear, and
Hear time allowed. Oh my god.
Okay, pause. Just start that next section.
Told you.
Different degrees of hearing loss, and it's the.
Okay.
Don't walk too close. Don't walk. If you walk too close, that obviously you'll be visually seen. That's